Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the parents for coming today, and 9th through 11th graders. Looking forward to a very informative session this morning. Follow up on our meeting last week where we did some enrichment opportunities. If you guys remember back a few weeks, you did an activity in your advisories on coming up with questions you might ask an admission officer. For that purpose, we brought in some experts in the field. In front of you, you see experts from 6 schools in Connecticut. And these are the people that read the applications from Shepaug. They're the ones that would make those admission decisions. And as experts in the field, this morning you'll hear some of the most recent trends, information about admissions at their particular institution, but also, what are some of the things you should be looking forward to as you go into the next few years. As you've heard from me before, my goal is that 100% of students that graduate from Shepaug will leave with a plan. That may be college. It may be going on for job, on-the-job training, apprenticeships, tech schools. It could be a whole variety of things, but everyone will leave with a plan from Shepaug. The reason I feel so strongly about that is because I know when we look at our 21st century world that you need those skills to be successful and live that life that you'd like to live. And you're going to hear a lot about that today from our experts. So please join me in welcoming the college admission panelists.
Good morning, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me perfectly fine. My name is Brian Mashad. I'm representing, as you might have guessed, Western Connecticut State University today. And for me personally, I have been in admissions, higher education for roughly 5 years now. So I may not be an expert, but I feel like I know a good deal. And I won't really get too much into my school, but I do want to talk about a couple of different things in regards to SATs and different averages you might have in regards to the application process and things that we might be looking for. But at the same time, always remember that when I say my averages, each school up here will have a different average, so it will be on you to research, talk with us individually when you go to a college fair, and find out what those averages are. Because my school might be tougher or easier to get into than one of these other ones. I feel like his mic might still be on. He does not know that. Either way, so for SATs, ACTs, Western Connecticut, for the most part requires them. If you have an exceptional GPA, we're looking at around a 3.5 average. If you have that, we can then kind of review you as SAT optional, ACT optional. But for the most part, we do require them. Our averages on campus, it depends on the particular program, but for the SAT, we're looking at around 1,000, 500 on each side, and that's really the general average. Certain programs, like our pre-nursing program, will be tougher, will be harder, will be higher. Same thing with education, school of business, but the general rule of thumb for us would be around 1,000, and then for the ACTs, we're looking at about a 21. And for our campus, we will super score, so if you take the SAT 2, 3, 4 times like I did in high school, which was awesome, we will super score for you to give your best overall composite and give you your best overall shot at getting in. And by super score, I mean take the best critical reading, best math, because we're not looking at writing, and give you your best overall composite. Other thing that I have here that I would like to touch upon would be if you don't have a straight A average, a lot of students are concerned that they may or may not get into an institution. That's not the end of the world. For here, it is a sliding scale between the two, so I would say the biggest driving factors for admissions would be your SAT, ACT scores, and your GPA throughout high school. If your GPA throughout high school is not an A average, is not a B plus average, something that you feel is strong, but your SAT scores are high, it will slide out and kind of level off, and you should be okay. At the same time, if you're concerned about your GPA, there are other things that you can do outside of do a really great job on SATs to show us as admissions representatives that you are serious about coming to Western or one of our institutions. And things that I would recommend would be, number one, visit the school. Obviously that sounds like something you should do regardless, but if you visit the school, you take a tour of the campus, try and meet with one of us to again show that you are serious about our institution. Ask us questions because we most likely will log everything into our computer systems to say, you came today, you were really interested in this program, you were really passionate about it, and then we want to kind of follow up with you and then just stay in touch with us. Hopefully you were involved throughout high school and you could submit some sort of resume that shows if you're interested in engineering and you took some engineering-based courses, or accounting, you took intro to accounting courses. Those are the types of things that you might want to highlight in a resume that we can then review with your application. So again, not the end of the world if you don't have a straight A average, even though I'm sure you all do, and you all have close to perfect SAT scores, so you don't have to worry about it. But that's generally what I will say for now, so I'm going to pass it on.
Thank you. My name is Dana Forchette, and I work for the University of Connecticut, and the sign up here says Torrington, and I do have an office at one of our regional campuses, the Torrington campus, but I do work for UConn as a whole. The main campus is in Storrs, Connecticut. It's a residential campus with about 17,000 students, and then there are 5 regional campuses of the university, which are located, in West Hartford, Waterbury, Stamford, Groton, the Avery Point campus, and then Torrington. And the regional campuses of the university range from about 1,500 students at the Stamford campus to about 300 students at the Torrington campus, so a lot of variety there. A couple of things that I was asked to address are what is the average class size and the ratio of students to faculty? And with 6 different campuses, that really can change at the University of Connecticut. At the main campus at Storrs, the typical student to faculty ratio is probably about 19:1. That being said, in the first 2 years when students are taking care of their general education requirements, you might find yourself in a very large lecture hall. It's not uncommon for some of the lecture halls to have 250 to 300 students, which is a lot. And some students really like that kind of environment. Some students might find that a little bit overwhelming. Even though they do have large lecture halls, oftentimes they do break down into discussion groups so that it's a significantly smaller student to faculty ratio. But that's something that you might want to take into consideration as well. And then at each of our regional campuses, it gets a little bit smaller at each of the regional campuses, whereas at Torrington we're about 10:1. So our low student to faculty ratio really allows students lots of opportunities to interact with faculty, not just in the classroom, but on a more informal basis. So it's kind of a funny number, that student to faculty ratio, but again, as you're looking at different colleges, it is something that you might want to take into account and know what's comfortable for you in terms of an academic environment. Average class size, same type of thing. At the main campus at Storrs, in the first 2 years, it could be a significantly larger class size, whereas once you get into your junior and senior year, where you're really studying classes in your major, then the class size is significantly smaller, probably around 20, 25, something like that. The other thing I was asked to talk about was, do I have any pointers for writing the college essay for the application? I think maybe I do. First and foremost, please don't text us your essay, okay? I'm not your BFF, I'm a college admission counselor, and I really like to see complete sentences with punctuation, the thoughts all articulated well in the essay. And at UConn, we get a significant number of applications, and of course the board scores and the high school transcript are important, but we do a holistic review. So the essay is really an opportunity for you to tell us a little bit about who you are, what you're interested in, what your goals are, more than we can see on an application, on numbers on a page. It really is your chance to talk to us. If you've had a bump in the road, perhaps, in your high school career, it's your opportunity to address that and let us know what happened, why maybe your grades weren't as good as they might have been that particular semester. But it is definitely an important part of the application process, and I think all of us do a holistic review. So it is an opportunity for you to really stand out. So I do recommend that you put some time and energy and thought into that essay and really make sure that it best represents you. And just one other little tip, we all know that students apply to a whole bunch of different colleges, but if you're applying to UConn, make sure when you close your essay it doesn't say, "That's why I want to be at Sacred Heart." So just proofread as well, because that happens too. So.
Thank you. How's everybody doing this morning? Good, good. My name's Ken Higgins, and I'm the Director of Undergraduate Admissions at Sacred Heart University. For those of you who don't know Sacred Heart University, we're a small private Catholic school here in Connecticut. We're about an hour from here, from Shepaug in Fairfield. We have about 3,800 full-time undergraduates, and about 2,500 graduate students as well, about 6,000 total students. So we're, like I said, kind of a small, medium-sized school. We have a variety of programs, about 50 programs to choose from in 4 different colleges. We do have a handful of Shepaug students enrolled at Sacred Heart, so I know it's a mix. It's 9th, 10th, and 11th graders in the room, so I would encourage you guys to visit. We're not too far. An hour really isn't that bad. And if you're looking to be just maybe far enough away from home, but not too far, an hour is usually a pretty good distance. So I encourage you to come visit. I don't know what you guys have planned for the summer, but we offer tours all throughout the summer, pretty much 5 days a week or 6 days a week, depending on the time of the summer. So come on down. I want to touch on, or I was kind of asked to touch on co-curriculars or extracurriculars once you get to college. What do you do, or what can you do outside of the classroom? And at Sacred Heart specifically, and I'm probably generally speaking for the majority of the schools up on the panel, you do have a lot of time outside of the classroom once you get to college. It was actually something that really surprised me once I got to college my freshman year, how little time I actually spent in the classroom, you know. And it wasn't because I was, I was going to school. I was in the classes, but you have so much time. It's not like Shepaug where you show up at 7:30 or whenever and you don't leave until 2:30 or 3, right? You may, your class schedule may be set up where you have, on Mondays, you have one class and it's from 8 to 9:15 in the morning. And that's your only class for the day. Your schedule might work out where you don't have classes on Wednesdays. Okay, I see a couple of smiling faces, and it sounds pretty sweet, you know. But it's what you do with your time outside of the classroom and how you make the most of it. Time management is absolutely one of the biggest keys to success once you get to college, if you haven't learned that already. And you guys are already busy high school students. You know what it's like to have a school schedule, a homework schedule, a sports athletic schedule, working part-time, community service, babysitting, whatever you have going on. So if you can continue that management once you get to college, it's really helpful. It will help you be successful. But generally speaking, there's a lot to do outside of the classroom, all right? At Sacred Heart University, the range is everything from, we have a massive Division I athletic program, we have club sports, community service opportunities like crazy. There are leadership positions available if you're interested, maybe if you're the leader of a club or an organization or some type of media club here at the school, you can continue with that. If student government is something that's been important to you, at a lot of schools that you'll be looking at, those opportunities are available. And at a lot of places, Sacred Heart specifically, we encourage participation in it. It's actually built into kind of the type of student that we're looking for. In fact, it may actually weigh into the admission decision. If you've thought about putting together a resume where you list your activities or what you've been involved in, that can become very beneficial when the admissions counselors are reviewing your application and going to make that decision. So the more involvement, in most cases, the more involvement, the better. Don't overdo yourself because you are there to get an education. But again, it's very easy to get involved outside of the classroom with all the extra time that you do have. And we encourage it once you get to Sacred Heart specifically, but like I said, in college in general. And it's okay to be involved in multiple things at the high school level as well. Again, we really encourage it because it shows us, as the people reviewing your applications, it shows us that you do know how to manage your time already. And as I said before, it's an important part of the being successful in college. So there's a lot to do. I encourage you to kind of research the schools once you start your list, once you get your list going, and maybe as you get further along in the process and you start narrowing your list down, have those factors, those co-curriculars or extracurriculars, weigh into the decision. You know, what do you want to be involved in at the school? Because that can be an important part of your experience. It can have an effect on your happiness when you get to the school. All right, so that's it for me. I'm going to pass along for the next topic.
Too many mics for one woman to use. Good morning. My name is Becky Tynan. I'm one of the Associate Directors of Admission at Yale University. We're down in New Haven, also about an hour or so drive away. Yale is a medium-sized research university. We have Yale College, which is the undergraduate portion. housed within the larger research university, which has 13 graduate and professional programs. We have about 5,400 undergraduates currently and about 11,000 students overall in the entire university. So our undergrads make up about half of the student population on campus. And to me, one of the things that I think makes the Yale experience stand out is just how much our undergraduates are really at the center of the university. That's sort of geographically in terms of how campus is set out, but certainly philosophically on the part of the university as well, that our undergraduates receive really the majority of the resources on campus. They have many opportunities to get involved with the graduate and professional schools. So students as undergrads will choose among about 80 different academic programs. We're a liberal arts college, so students have time at the beginning of their experience to test the waters a little bit, try things out. Students don't have to declare their major until the end of their sophomore year, so students can try out a few different things, see what they are most interested in, and then choose that major at the end of their sophomore year. There are many research opportunities for students who are interested in the sciences and engineering. Students are working in the medical school with physicians there and researchers there. Students are taking courses at the law school. There are a variety of opportunities that way. Our admission process is certainly a selective one. We do require standardized testing, as we were talking about earlier, either the SAT or the ACT. Most of the students who are admitted to Yale tend to be in the top 10% or so of their graduating class from high school, but there's also, there tends to be a range there. We're really, as my colleagues were saying earlier, interested in the holistic evaluation of an application. We're looking at the big picture. We want to see that students are ready to take on a rigorous academic experience, but there is quite a bit more to it than that as well, and we're interested in the ways that students are going to sort of engage with the community on campus, whether it be in their residential college where they live or in extracurricular activities on campus. And to that end, I was going to speak a little more to sort of how we evaluate extracurriculars as part of the application process itself. That's certainly an important part of the process. Those of you who are juniors may have started to look at the Common Application, and there's a whole page there dedicated to listing your activities outside of the classroom. And just out of curiosity, how many of you do something else in your day other than going to class and homework? Most of you, whether that's school related, it's a sport as we were talking about, or Model UN, or debate, or it's taking care of siblings after school, or a part-time job, or whatever that may be, we're interested in those things. And in a highly selective admissions process, those are actually the things that tend to make the difference in terms of our decision making, in that in our applicant pool, the majority of students who are applying are very well qualified academically. I'm not worried about whether an applicant is going to be a successful student or not. When they arrive at Yale, I can be picky and say which student is going to add the most value to our community and which student is going to get the most out of what we have to offer. And so we're looking closely at what students do, and I guess that the piece that I want to get across is that we're often asked, what should I have on my extracurricular profile? What should be on my resume? Is it more important to be involved in debate or be in a sport or write for the newspaper? What carries more weight? And I think generally at most schools that there isn't any sort of hierarchy or pecking order involved there. We're just most interested in how you choose to spend your time. And my personal feeling, and certainly the feeling of our office, is that we're most interested in students who have maybe tried a few things, but also possibly found some things that they're really excited about. And that doesn't mean that that's going to be the one activity that that student sticks with throughout their college career and life beyond that, but it shows that that student has the ability to really dedicate themselves to something, and whether they take on a leadership position there or whether they play more of a supporting role and are a team player in that activity. To see those intangible qualities that come through, oftentimes through extracurricular involvements, becomes a really big part of the process. So we like to see that students have maybe taken some initiative or taken on leadership or have shown some creativity in terms of what they've gotten involved in. So those pieces are important, but don't feel as though they're particular boxes that you need to be checking off as as freshmen, sophomores, juniors, go to the activities fair and decide what to join. Do what is most interesting to you and what you become most passionate about, and that tends to be what translates best in the application process as well.
Good morning, my name is Samantha Powers and I'm the Associate Director of Undergraduate Admissions at the University of St. Joseph. I'm going to try and be brief because I know that we still want to get to question and answers from you guys. So I'm the only all-female undergraduate institution at this table, so I'm a little bit more particular. So if you have questions about me specifically, because I hit one target audience and not all of you, please feel free to ask me later or email me or anything of that nature. But we're a small private undergraduate institution in West Hartford, so it's about an hour away, depending on the traffic. And there's only 1,000 undergraduate students, so we're very small. We recruit for class sizes of 200 to 250, depending on the graduation year. But what I wanted to talk to you guys today was about financial aid. And so, is this my row of parents in the front? Is that what I'm looking at? So it tends to go a lot more towards parents than students, but students, you need to know that you have a huge process. Part of this process, because you're the contact between yourself and your admissions counselor, and that's the person that you need to work with very closely. So the process is pretty similarly across the board with the exceptions of deadlines for each institution that you're applying to. The first and foremost thing that you want to do during your application, everyone's got a checkbox, and tell me if this is not right, that says, would you like to apply for financial aid? I always tell students to say yes, because you can always turn it down. That process then moves you forward to the January 1st deadline of submitting your FAFSA. Has everyone heard of the FAFSA? Shake of hands, heads, nothing. Okay, so the FAFSA is very important that you fill out, and that it cannot be submitted until January 1st, and it goes based on your family income, so that's where it usually becomes a family member that fills that out. Most institutions will walk you through that process if it's the first time that you've done it, if it's the second, third, fourth, or fifth. Always ask for assistance if you think you need it, because it has a high impact as to what you pay for your college tuition. The turnaround there becomes, I would say, mid-February is when institutions start to get back to financial aid application packages or awards. And in that award process is anything from your merit scholarship, which is usually awarded in your acceptance letter. If anyone's not a friend, they can tell you. Your merit scholarship, any other additional scholarships that the university wants to give to you, and any loans that the institution packages for you. In addition to that, there are outside scholarships that universities have that you need to apply for. Most of those are found on a scholarship page. USJ has anything from, if you're a dependent of a military member, to community service. There's a full scholarship for Make a Difference, and there's other scholarships for coming from an all-female college, going to a Catholic parish, things of that. So they're very specific pertaining to the institution that you're applying for. We do encourage, and I know that your counselor probably do also, encourage you to apply for outside scholarships. The only thing that we ask is that you work with your counselors or your family members as to the scholarships that you're applying for, so you're not giving them information that you should not be giving them, because there are scholarships that are not legitimate out there. So we just want you to be careful of that. And the biggest thing is just to watch deadlines. If schools have deadlines, USJ does not. I know that UConn said that theirs was March 1st. So just make sure that you're watching the deadlines with the packages and the application process.
Good morning. I'm Joanne Nardi. I'm the Director of Admissions at Northwestern Connecticut Community College. We are located in Winston. We have approximately 1,600 students. I loved what I heard before, having everyone leave high school with a plan. And we have two types of students, basically. The type of student that wants to become workforce ready with their associate's degree, or the student that wants to transfer once they've received their associate's degree. So the workforce ready, we have programs such as manufacturing, electric power technology, which is a partnership with Northeast Utilities, medical assisting, nursing, veterinary technology. Many students like to start with the veterinary technology program, start to work, and then some of them go on to become veterinarians. So we have a lot of programs like that, but we also have the students that want to get their associate's degree and transfer to a four-year university, and we do have transfer agreements in place with the University of Connecticut, with the state universities, and with some of the private universities. 2 years ago, we were very proud to find out that one of our students was accepted to Yale. Our students do transfer all over. provide advisement to help students make choices at Northwestern which will help them at the four-year university. We also invite about a dozen universities onto our campus every semester. And they come on to recruit our students because they would like our students to join them. I was asked today to talk a little bit about how do you reach out to your faculty members if you need help, if you want to talk to them. At Northwestern, our average class size is 17 students, so our faculty get to know you very well. At every college, though, faculty members have office hours, and that can range from 4 to 6 hours and even more. That's listed on the syllabus you receive the first day that you go to school, go to class. Tells you exactly when you can reach them, how you can reach them. Many of them give cell phone numbers, emails. In addition, at Northwestern, we have an academic success center, which is where you can go for free tutoring, and many of our faculty members are there at off times as well to help students. So thank you very much for inviting me.
Check. Still figuring out how this works. All right, so we've heard some excellent information on the college process from the experts in the field. We'd like to take the next 5 minutes to do question and answers from you guys. You have some thoughts that you'd like to hear on things that weren't covered or some more information particular to each institution. If you have a more general question, we can just ask and then the experts will field it. If you have one in particular, then you can reach out to that institution. All right, so who we got? All right, while you're thinking about that, I'm going to go back to the questions you guys developed in advisory. One of the first ones, and I heard a little bit about this, but I'd like to hear a little bit more about the college essay, and just let you guys decide who wants to go with that. But how does the college essay play into the admission department or admission decision at your institution?
Well, I guess I'll start because I had that question, but I think for UConn anyway, as I said earlier, we do a holistic review. Because of the number of applications we receive, the transcript and the board scores are going to play the most significant role. But the essay, the recommendations, and the activity sheet or resume are also taken into consideration. And as I said earlier, at least for the applications that I read, I really do pay attention to the essay because there are some students whose applications come in and they're pretty clear admits. There's some students whose applications come in and sadly they're pretty clear not admits. But there are an awful lot of students who it's kind of hard to make a decision, and that's where that essay can really play a role, as I said, at least for me. When you take the time, as I said, to tell me a little more about you as an individual, that can make a world of difference in terms of the ultimate decision.
Add a little bit. Kind of to echo the exact same thing what she just said. If, let's say, easy accept, you're all set. Easy deny, unfortunately, we're sorry. But if you are on the cusp, it's a great opportunity for you guys to highlight why. So I believe she mentioned something earlier. If you had, let's say, a down sophomore year because reason X, Y, Z, maybe you just moved and you transferred into this school, or maybe you actually physically moved and the move at home, for whatever reason, made you slip a little bit in high school. If that's the case, if there's a reason behind why your grades went from, let's say, straight A's or A's and B's to B's and C's or lower, we would like to know that. And if you have a legitimate reason, the essay is a perfect venue for you to let us know. So just keep that in mind, where if something happens via the transcript and you want to let us know, we're only going to be able to see what's on the transcript. But if we can read it in your essay, it kind of sheds a little more light onto why that's the case, and it could help you out when it comes time for meeting as a committee and discussing it as an office to hopefully accept you into the institution.
Great, thank you. A question from the crowd.
Hi, I was wondering if this question very tailored to myself. I moved from Italy 2 years ago, and I was wondering, since my parents had to do this, if still now students have to take a Toefl test, even if I've always had a English education my whole life. And with that, does your nationality and where you come from affect the admission process?
It's a very good question, and thanks for standing up and, and asking it. We'd like to hear from students why we do what we do. There may possibly be differences in how schools handle this and what policies are, but I think probably in most cases, and for us at least, if a student's primary language of instruction has been English, throughout their experience, then we would require that student take the Toefl, and it would be optional for that student if the student thought that the other academic credentials in the application were impacted by the fact that English had not been their primary language, then we would want them to take the Toefl. But in your situation in particular, it sounds like that would not be necessary, at least in our case. And in terms of background, I think that's part of the holistic process, where students are coming from, sort of literally and figuratively, I think. And so that's a very important part. We want to hear about that. When students have had life experiences that have impacted their outlook on life and their perspective on things, then we want to know how students see the world, how they're impacting the world around them, and all of that comes into play. So I think the essays can actually be a really great place to highlight something like that. And it may be that the student has lived abroad, it may be that they want to tell us more about their family, it may be any number of different things, but we're interested.
Great, thank you. Another question from the students, the parents?
Hi. Do any of your schools offer travel abroad programs?
Yes.
I can answer it even though you're not a female and I'm off. I'm going to say every single one of us has a study abroad program, and all of us are going to have a study abroad office that you're going to work with. The biggest thing that I'll tell you, even if you're coming in undeclared or if you're coming in as a decided major, you're working with a faculty advisor, an academic advisor, some advisor of some sort when you're scheduling your classes, is the instant that you think it's a possibility. And I don't know anybody that would tell you not to do it. I would absolutely suggest doing it. I've done it multiple times. I do all of our international students. I do all of our exchange programs at our school. I don't know anybody that would tell you not to do it, but you have to say that you want to do it so we can put it in your plan. Because you don't want to get to junior year and not be able to study abroad because it's going to affect your graduation date. So as soon as you even think about it, say it.
Great, thank you. Question that came up earlier in advisory is about online profiles and Facebook accounts, things like that. I don't know if someone could field that question about how that impacts admission decisions, or how could it?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. It's become an interesting topic over the past couple of years, just since Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Snapchat and all those fun things have become so popular. And as a general rule of thumb, when we do, or specifically for Sacred Heart, but I think probably generally, just be aware that what you put online on most of those public sites is exactly that, it's public. Unless you have this absolutely insane privacy settings, on your Facebook, which nobody wants anyway because everybody wants you to see your pictures and stuff. So, people can see it. The interesting phenomenon over the past couple of years is at Sacred Heart, we take advantage of social media to interact with you guys. That's where you just have to be careful. That's all. We have an admitted student group that we start every year. The Sacred Heart University admitted class of 2018, for example, where we are in the group, you guys are also in it, and we're interacting with you. So you just want to be careful. I think there have been some horror stories that have come out kind of saying that, we kind of look, we dig, as we're reviewing the application, we look for all the weird pictures and everything like that. I think I can say that doesn't happen, there's other things that we're doing, but just be careful. It is public and anybody can view what you put on it for the most part. So just be careful, that's all.
Thank you. As you know, the period has just about ended, so we're going to let you go in a second. I think with the takeaway from a day like today, I think about it in terms of when I was in high school. I was a first-generation college student in my family. I'm the first person in my family that went to college and completed it, and I'm very, very happy I did that. However, for all of you, it's almost brand new, because when I went to college, it was a very different process. It was a very different world. you have to think about things that we never thought about. Financial things have always been thought about, and they always will be. Social media, how have you identified yourself as a citizen online? Becomes something that you have to think about. The world is changing so rapidly that most of you will be preparing for jobs that don't exist right now. So your choices are much larger, but they're also much more complex. Now, today is just a very brief introduction, and you'll have a lot of different snapshots that will come out of the counseling office. Here's what I will encourage you to do. This process is new and individual to every single one of you. But every single one of you sitting here can find the best fit for you that will launch you in the right direction in your lives. Take time with this. Every time you have an opportunity to attend a session, do it. If you're walking away with a question that you really didn't want to stand up and ask, get that question to your counselor. Email it to me. We'll make sure you get an answer about that. Get every piece of information. Do everything that you can do to choose the right place for you. This is going to be a huge decision. I know you're capable of making it, but you need to make sure that you get all the information you can. And if you remember nothing else that I've just said, remember, I know this, remember that the jobs for which you are preparing may not exist right now. So keep an open mind, not only to what you've learned, but to what you will learn. This is very much like the claims that you write in English. You're going to make a claim about yourself to a college, and you will spend 4 years giving them the evidence so that they will give you that diploma that says you're ready to go out into the world. Very, very exciting. I'm very happy to be a part of it, but remember to get all the information you can. Go ahead to the next class. Thank you.